So please come back to your seats.
자리해 주시기 바랍니다.
And for our roundtable panelists, please also take your seats. So let us now resume. And just some housekeeping announcements. So in the afternoon, we also have another session, of course. So for lunch, we do not provide lunch, excuse us. So if you go across the road, we do have a cafeteria in the basement. So please feel free to choose whichever restaurant of your liking. So now let us resume with the roundtable. I'd like to introduce them to you. I will now hand over to the moderator, Professor Kim Won-soo from Kyunghee University. And of course, our two speakers, Provost Professor Kwon Oh-byung and Professor Gina Tese.
Thank you so much, Professor Kim Yun-chul. Can you hear me? Good morning. Buenos dias. Bonjour. And I think the room is a little bit chilly for us, but with the two presentations, we are pretty much warmed up by your very passionate presentations. So thank you so much again for your presentations. And as Professor Gina Tese said, I think we have to break with our old paradigm. So I'd like to ask a question first to Professor Gina Tese, because at the United Nations, we always follow lady first. Thank you so much for your presentation, and I was deeply impressed and struck by the way you phrase our mindset and also how we have to move to a new paradigm. My last job at the United Nations was disarmament. So we are pretty much on the same page, because my job was to disarm the arms. And when I took up the job, I always, with a half joke, told my colleagues that I felt my job is like riding bicycle uphill. So I have to keep pedaling it, otherwise I may go sideways or go backward. But not much progress I can make. And these days I feel we are riding bicycle uphill against headwind. And as you said, and also Professor Paul Carr said, most of the records are being broken on arms expenditures, but also, as Professor Kwon Oh-byung said, records we have on climate are being broken now every year. This year will be recorded as the hottest ever, but it will be very short-lived, because 100% sure it will be broken next year. Because for the past 10 years, the hottest, the wettest weather record has been continually broken. So we are living in a series of crises, but our mindset, I think, is still in old days, old paradigm. So I'd like to ask Professor Gina Tesse first about how you think we can operationalize the changing mindset in our education, you said, but also in the discourse we have globally, particularly with those who are in power. So unless we change their mindset, not much we can expect to be changed. So my first question, I know this is a very challenging question to you.
It is.
So particularly when we have a strongman type leaders around us in many countries, particularly in the countries where most power is concentrated. So that is my question to you.
Thank you, Professor, for the question. Of course, it's a huge question. No? We would like to have an answer, a direct answer, precise and quick answer, say how to do this education. But of course, I think that the education we have had, it's a colonial education anyway. So we've been, in terms of peace, we've been miseducated. So now, not only we have to decolonize peace and deconstruct colonial wars, but in the same time, we have to decolonize education. It's not possible to pursue or to go further without that. But that's true. It's like Albert Camus, wrote. It's like a work of Sisyphe, no? And we do things. There are results. But of course, there is a bounce back every time, because the paradigm of wars, the paradigm of colonization, this paradigm have been there, so it's systemic, have been there for so long. So we forgot that, as Walter Mignolo said, we forgot that it was an option. It was not supposed to be like that, absolutely. It was an option, and we chose it. Okay, so let's choose something else. But that being said, it's not so easy to do anyway. But I think that we should start with education. What about education? So far, education has been, there are two roots, the two Latin words for education. One word is education, coming from educare. Educare means that the human being is like a vase that you just fill it up with knowledge, and the vase is of course an object. So we have to shape the object, to correspond, to answer to the demand of the market, to the demand of the paradigm of wars and colonization and everything. But we could choose the other etymological root of education, which is another Latin word, educere. And educere, the human being is not a vase, it's not an object. The human being is a subject. It's a plant. It's a living being, as I use for peace. And as living being, he needs water. He needs to become what he's supposed to become, and not to become what others want him to become, and to follow the rules without thinking. So educere, I think I like this other perspective on education, meaning that and education is not only for a couple of years in during life. You know, it's like UNESCO said. You know, it's all lifelong education. But education, it's about, you know, to be able to think by themselves, by ourselves, no, to be critic, and to be ethic, and to be politics. And the problem is we are afraid of politics in education. Why? Paulo Freire said education is politic and it's supposed to be politic, and he has to continue to be politics, you know. But we see politics as a partisan thing, so we don't want to do. But politics is about the Greek term polis, P-O-L-I-S, meaning the city. So being politic in education is just taking care of our things, our business, the business in the city. So I think that education, as educators, we have to have courage in order to accept this role, but we are so scared, and we think that we're supposed to be neutral, but neutrality doesn't exist. We're supposed to be objective. Objectivity doesn't exist. It's intersubjectivity. We're supposed to be universal, so we don't care about the different context. So we have to reconsider a lot in education. So for us, it's a duty for us as educators.
Yes. So the way we think of education must be changed. As you said, it must be based on the different mindsets and priorities. As you said, it should be nature-friendly, living with all other things on Earth, but also community-based, because it has to be not only me or you, but also us. And we have to nurture respect for differences and diversity. But unfortunately, many of the current leaders in the world are profoundly lacking that sense, because in many places, politics are being polarized, increasingly see others not only as different, but also bad. So it'll be really challenging to change the paradigm of education for the long term. But that said, we have to go back to the basics. Unless we change the way we educate citizens, particularly future citizens, same breed of leaders without any proper sense of global citizenship will again come to power. So we have to prevent it. But global citizenship education is always a big challenge. And for that, now I'd like to go back to Professor Kwon-Ho-byung's last conclusion, that we have to change the way to teach global citizenship to our next generation. So after hearing what Professor Gina Tese said, is there any point you want to maybe change in the current curriculum or our teaching methods, or any epistemological or other tools we have? So any reflection on that point after hearing Professor Gina Tese's presentation?
네, 우리 지나테세 교수님의 그 발표가
Yeah, so what she said made a huge impact on me. So peace-based knowledge. I mean, I have garnered a lot of insight based upon her talk. So I would like to share my personal experience, and also I would like to share my ideals as professor at Kyunghee University. So I think our textbooks are based upon war-focused curriculums are covered by textbooks. So we have history books describing our achievement or our triumph. And that is sort of boasted. And I suppose we are trying to sort of give our next generation the message that they have to continue to achieve what we have achieved based upon wars and conflict. So this indeed is a war-focused mindset. So I suppose it is important to change our textbooks. But it is difficult, not because of the politics, but also economically it is difficult. And also we have to think about the corporation's point of view as well. So as a scholar, starting from 1996, I have been teaching my students. So social responsibility, I think it has to be included in the management curriculum. So I taught the introduction to business management. And as I was teaching that subject matter, I couldn't find a textbook covering that topic, social responsibility of business. And when it comes to management, it was all about maximizing profits. That was the basic principle of the theory. So with, what I was thinking, I could not choose that particular textbook and teach my students, which is why I wanted to publish a brand new textbook. It was difficult to do so because everything was all about materialistic values, and all the theories and notions in our domain were focused on profits. And as you all know, many people know the importance of sustainability, and it is well known. But people in the corporate world, and even academics in the business domain, they didn't see the importance of sustainability. So it took me about 2 years to draft a new textbook, but the problem was no one bought it. It wasn't sold well at all. So that was the effort made by the minority, I would say. But as the member of the minority who knew the importance of sustainability, we achieved some innovation and changes. And when you are pioneering this type of movement, you will be confronted with difficulties. And when you are confronted with political differences, political challenges as well, it is important to nurture groups and communities with the right principles and right goals. And as you said, Professor Feze, you talked about the importance of peace and peace-based curriculums, and I agree with you 100%. To do so, we have to think about the certification of education. In Korea, we have a lot of sort of certification available for management, medicine, and engineering. The basic principle of these certification, we got all those basic ideas from the Western world. The basic notion is that universities, the departments, based upon their own philosophy, that is obviously reflected in their teaching goals. And you draft curriculums based upon the goal. And under the curriculum, you can change or alter the subject matter and also the content of the curriculum accordingly. The certified schools must follow this system. And all the universities try to come up with their own curriculum in line with this notion. On top of this, so the curriculum and also the philosophy of the university and the department, we have to consider one more thing, which is sustainability. So that should be included in the current curriculum. If we do so, we will be able to spread this message at the university level. So university level certification organizations are in place worldwide. So perhaps those organizations, those entities could work together and collaborate to reflect the importance of peace. And we at Kyungin University will continue to make the effort. Thank you so much, Professor.
For your comments, and also I want to pick up from his comments, very important point about how we can make new standards which can spur changes for the future. And also, Professor Kwon talked about the importance of corporate social responsibility and UN sustainability agenda represented by Sustainable Development Goals. And SDG has 17 goals and 169 targets. But most of those targets, to me, too much quantity-oriented, quantitative targets, rather than qualitative targets. So unless we introduce new standards to take the quality higher, mindset is a quality, peace-based knowledge is a quality. But unless we introduce new standards to promote quality rather than quantity, it will be very difficult to change education and also change the world. And I very much like your last plea for love. Love is quality, particularly radical love. So my question to you is, how do you think we can operationalize the concept, your concept of radical love into the qualitative standard for SDGs?
Thank you for the question. Before to go to love, to the radical love, about SDG, I think that SDG, it's a useful concept. Concepts do matter. We need concept in order to move forward. But I think that SDG, and sorry for that, but I know any of you and myself, we use SDG in our teaching, research, and everything. So, but SDG, I think, cannot be. It is a step, but it's not. It cannot be the final step, because the model, the representation of SDG, it's economy, environment, and society. Three spheres interrelated. That means we put on the same level economy and environment. And this is a problem. And you said that we are not in the climate change anymore. We are in a crisis, an emergency. So how come we can continue to put economy and environment on the same level, suggesting that they have the same importance? I think this is a problem with SDG. So for the moment, SDG is useful, but still we have to deconstruct SDG and see what what we need forward, in order to move forward, what we need to replace SDG, because SDG cannot be conduct us to step forward to face not the climate change, but the climate crisis, climate emergency. And there is another problem with SDG. It's about the development. It's still development. And we see that in economy, you know, people have the facility to reappropriate development, green development, and clean development. I don't know what does that mean, clean development, but they use clean thing, we clean. No, it's still development. And you just showed that even every time we think that something is clean or something is green, and those, you know, false words to continue to colonize our mind, you know, we see that no, there is a cost. There is a cost in terms of GES, no, and everything. So for that sustainable development, I think it's useful now, but we have to accept that we have to deconstruct it and move forward with another concept. I don't know which one. And about radical love, it's a concept of emerged from Paulo Freire's discourse and critical pedagogy. The field of critical pedagogy, coming from his most known book, Pedagogy of the Oppressed. And Paulo Freire said that we have a dialectical work to do. Because, of course, talking about radical love to face wars, you know, it could seem to be in nonsense, no? But this dialectical duty we have to do, it's to accept those tensions. Life is about tension, and we cannot eliminate the tensions completely. So we have to accept those tensions, and we have to see where the, not equilibrium, but why the tensions are dynamic. So we have to how to play with them. So radical love, for Paulo Freire, pedagogy means radical love. We cannot educate, we cannot accompany the other one, learning together, teaching together, educate ourselves together. For Paulo Freire, there is no A educating B or B educating A. A and B are educating themselves, you know, by the world, with the world, in the world, reading the word and reading the world. So there is a dialectical tension that we have to accept. Radical love, it's not about accepting everything from the other, no. But it needs the courage to sit with the other and to dialogue with the other, to listen to what we don't want to listen to, you know, but still, you know, to be there and listen to and respond. And the struggle is gonna continue. Angela Davis said, you know, don't expect the struggle to finish one day. No. If we are conscious, if we have this social consciousness, we are in struggle every day and for a long time and forever. So the question of time, our relation of time, of course, we want everything to be done right away, no? So when I talk about a shift of paradigm, it's not easy to change like that, not at all. So I think that for our generation, I won't say it's done. It's no. There are changes. But I think it's a question of time. It's a process. And if it's too fast, it becomes violent. So we are playing the game of the paradigm, the war paradigm. So it has to take time in order to dialogue, in order to exchange, in order to convince and see. So time, it's can be violent also. So don't play the game of the paradigm war by to press too much and too fast. In that sense, I would like to talk about an example in Canada. The Commission for Truth and Reconciliation, held by the indigenous communities in Canada, Autochthone, Inuit, and Métis people, and this Commission of Truth and Reconciliation. I said, but there is a missing element there, no? Between truth and reconciliation, we should have something. And for me, it should be reparation. But we know that the damages are not repairable. The damages of colonization are irreparable. So how can we come from truth to go to reconciliation? And I think the missing element is justice, which is in our team also. Justice, because we recognize that the damages are irreparable, but still we have to do something in order to recognize what has been done to those people and everything. And this commission, released her the report a few years ago, and there is no violence. There is no violence, but still they continue to raise their voice, especially women, indigenous women in Canada, writing, playing, singing, and they raise their voice in order for things to change. It's going to take time, of course, but we can feel the change is there already. So it's a good model, I think, to give up hope anyway.
Thank you. We all know journey ahead of us is tough, but we should not lose hope. Otherwise, nothing will change. So I completely agree with you. And also, I agree with your point that development is not a right or appropriate word for the future paradigms of civilization. But that said, still, any development is not possible without peace. And also peace is not durable without justice. So there is a
justice,
no peace.
No peace.
So triangular relationship we have to look at as a package. Peace, growth, and justice, we have to look at it as a package. But I also like to pick up your point, very important point about the relationship between economy and environment. And I'd like to ask a question back to Professor Kwan, that still we tend to put economy and technology ahead of environment. That's why the damage to environment tends to be neglected when we see the potential of economic growth or technological advancement. As Professor Tina said, and also you said in your presentation, that something looks clean or green, but it's not really clean or green, because it also emits. For example, electricity vehicle. It's not clean because electricity is produced by burning coals. Half of electricity is being produced by burning coals. Hydrogen energy too. If hydrogen comes out of fossil fuel, then it is not really renewable energy. So a lot of greenwashing is being done in the name of technology or economic growth. So you said about technology as a solution, but also as a problem, double-edged sword. So how can we really put environment ahead of economy or technology?
굉장히 어려운 질문이고 굉장히 중요한 질문이십니다.
That was indeed a tough question. So I don't like the saying, but I think this is a part of evolution, isn't it? So technology and social responsibility in the context of economy, I think these concepts are, changing. The planet Earth is a macro environment, isn't it? So what I mean by that is about 3, 4, or 5 decades ago, the global warming was still a buzzword, was already a buzzword, but we didn't respond properly. So polar bears were still, there, and there were some, global warming and changes, but then it wasn't a dire issue at the moment. So back then, people thought, oh, there's global warming, but we don't really know what type of impact it would have, what kind of consequences it would have. Which is why people didn't think that was a big problem. As time went by, not only just a handful of scientists, but also the Secretary General of the United Nations talks about the crisis that we are faced with. And also that leads to the changes in our perception. And based upon that, the innovators and also the leaders in our business and economy, they are changing their mindsets as well. With all this in mind, if you are to achieve innovation with all this in mind, that's a difficult challenge. But let's say in the past, we were sort of simple-minded, but now we have to have more complex perception. We have so many factors we have to take into consideration as we achieve innovation. Which is why, from the outside, you want to make your products green, your solutions green and environmentally friendly. But in reality, your solutions are not that green. So that's called greenwashing, isn't it? So even today, there are some greenwashing incidents. But as the environment changes, our mindset changes, and the changes in our perception and mindset leads to the changes in how we do business, how we run our companies. And that factor has become more important. So we're not, you cannot get by pretending to be green. So the engineers and developers of AI, they have to think about greener options. That's why I introduced the concept of green AI. So those attempts have been made to ensure sustainability in the technological development as well. And the ESG movement has made many positive changes, as you may know. In 2025, without carrying out ESG practices properly, you will not be able to run your business smoothly because there will be sanctions. There will be some retaliations against those who do not abide by the ESG principles. As Professor Gina Theza said, we have to have this. We don't know if they have sort of this genuine and authentic aspiration to become sustainable. But as you know, even in corporate Korea, you have to acknowledge the importance of sustainability and you have to run your business accordingly. Based upon your principles, based upon your perception, you actually have to know how important it is to make our planet greener. And the engineers and also business people have to acknowledge the importance as well. And we have to think about our next generation and let's say undergrad students and graduate students who are our future, which is why we have to teach them properly at the university level. Thank you so much, Professor.
I think both Professor Kwon and Professor Tesse are in agreement that something is changing, but it'll take time because education takes time, and also changing mindset also takes time. But then I want to challenge you again whether we'll have enough time left on climate crisis. Nature begins to strike us back, and all signs combined now indicating we will face worse and worse crisis. Flooding, drought, wildfires, melting of iceberg, not only in the Arctic, but also Antarctica. And all this combined may be accelerating. So in the face of the accelerating crisis, multiple crises on security, nuclear, and other challenges, but also climate fronts, the current pace of changing mindset, changing education will be sufficient. Then next question is, how can we accelerate? Paradigm shift and also education. So how can we accelerate our paradigm shift? I know this is also a very challenging question to you.
Anyway, thank you for the question. Of course, I cannot, not for the moment anyway, I cannot read in the future. I will maybe one day, but I cannot read in the future, so I cannot tell you that if it's too late or if we will have the time. But I like the word of Antonio Gramsci, and like Antonio Gramsci, I said that I am very pessimistic. My mind is very pessimistic, but my heart is very optimistic. In that term, I am optimistic seeing the youth, let's say the well-known Greta Thunberg, no? Facing the politicians saying, how dare you? How dare you? And she was able to mobilize youth, you know, of her age and younger, marching with her, striking with her, and reclaiming and screaming and everything about the change that we need. And they know that they're going to be those people, the person in charge, pretty soon, you know, and they're going to be the people who are going to be victims, you know, who are going to be they will have to face, no, those consequences with the acceleration of the changes. So, despite of the drama, who is, you know, we are facing, I think that despite of that, I stay optimistic, seeing that the youth, they believe in to do something. They believe in the possibility to change things, and they want to challenge us, and I think that they will. So for that, I keep my optimistic heart, you know, intact with my pessimistic mind, of course. We have so many Greta Thunberg, not only in Sweden, but everywhere on the planet, and the youth, they are there. Unfortunately, they face people like, you know, our generations, you know, people doesn't want to change. But the change is coming, anyway, I think, because of them.
Thank you. Again, I 100% agree with you that we have to be pessimistic in our analysis, but we have to be optimistic in our efforts. Unless we try, nothing will change. If we try, maybe percentage of success may be low, but still we have some percentage. of difference.
And Greta Thunberg said, you don't have to wait to have hope in order to act.
Yes.
Start acting, start doing things, and the hope is coming after.
Thank
with
you.
the action.
Thank you so much for your plea. Maybe same question to Professor Kwon. How can we accelerate our mindset change, paradigm shift, and education?
사실은 이제 사람들의 그 의식에
Yeah, so I think if we are to change people's mindset and attitude, we can utilize many different elements. Of course, at school, we can do something about it. And also religious organizations and entities can do something, and also local governments and NGOs and other organizations can work together. So this wide range of individuals can come together and have discussions. And also we have to think about roles and responsibilities, how we can delegate the roles, and we should come up with a framework. So I think government officials and also NGOs and religious institutes should come together and converse. And I suppose there are some areas we can work together, and there are also other areas that, we should work individually. And once we achieve small successes in certain regions and areas, then we will be able to sort of scale that effort.
감사합니다. Thank you so much. And lastly, before we close, but I want to do some justice to the audience who is listening very attentively and participating with keenness. So, any question from the floor? Then I think maybe our moderator, Professor Kim Hyun-chul, should volunteer. Oh, okay. 잘 들립니다. 예, 잘 들립니다. 잘 들립니다.
통역
이라는 정원을 가꾸는
그럼 이 마이크.
이제 들립니까? 네, 들린다고 합니다. 네. 그래서 그 민주주의 정원을 가꿔야 되는 평화의
So you mentioned that we needed to be gardeners, and you also talked about Ubuntu as well for the last element as well. At Gyeonggi University, we are pursuing a lot of different efforts, but I think if you look at the soil, it actually is an environment that instigates a lot of competition. So with Ubuntu in mind, what is the right method of peaceful competition or the peaceful curriculum? Because I think that the current curriculum is based on competition and a very economic method. But I think that there is a big discrepancy from what we need to achieve, a peaceful paradigm. So how should we achieve this?
Thank you so much for the question. I talked earlier about Paulo Freire describing the banking education. No? Banking education, it's about competition, of course. It's about, and competition is about like war in education. No? We have to get marks better than the other one, more than the other one, and everything in order to. So the banking education, I think it's comparable to the paradigm of wars. the Ubuntu philosophy. First of all, talking about Ubuntu philosophy, it's a way to decolonize philosophy, because philosophy is seen as something Africa has. Hegel said that philosophy is not possible in Africa. Now, Hegel. Okay. Why? Why? So philosophy is a colonized, like other disciplines, it's a colonized discipline. It's the mother of the discipline, colonized, and the other are colonized also. Ubuntu offers saying that I am because you are, the because you are, that put us together in a common humanity, a common destiny. And Ubuntu, it's all about the common, the community, solidarity, putting things together. There is for me, there is some for me, there is some for you, there is some for one, there is some for all, and everything. It's about, and it's possible to change education, to erase this competition mindset in order to educate, if A educate B and B educate A with the world, in the world, through the world. We don't have to be in competition. And this is also come from, I think, a philosophical division, saying there is the reason, there is the emotion, there is nurture, there is culture. We've been educated in the way to divide person, to divine subject, to divine the human being. It doesn't have to be like that. It's an option. We made this option before, but we can change the option. So to decolonize education, it is about this. Let's try to see collaboration instead of competition. Some theories have shaped our mind, saying that for the existence of human being, it's about competition. So you have to oppress the other one in order to be able. You have to you have to say voler. You have to. Now you have to steal. You have to steal, in order to be able to eat. You have to. No, in nature, of course, there is competition between species or intra-species. There is competition, of course. But we have other models in nature, no? Nature gave us models of collaboration. And I don't think that we will be here today if there was not collaboration in nature and in our own nature. So it's an option. So let's choose the other option. Education, collaboration in education, instead of this competition, which is banking education and which is miseducation. I don't know if that's fair. Thank you for the question.
Yes, humanity has genes to prosper through collaboration. That's how sapiens has come to the current level of civilization. Professor Kwan, you have any last observation? Competition versus collaboration in education paradigm?
네, 좀 엉뚱한 말로 좀 말씀을 좀 드리고 싶습니다.
So I'm gonna throw a interesting concept out there. So you, Gina, talked about the human race being crazy. Yes, we are crazy indeed. So we can either destroy the planet. We are capable of loving someone radically. So aside from the humankind, there's nothing we can radically love. The human race is capable of, once again, loving others radically. So I think that's in line with the spirit that you talked about. That is my closing comment. Thank you, Professor.
we should be insane, but productively and collaboratively. So thank you so much for sharing your insights and wisdom. And I'm sure that, like myself, audience must have felt we learned a lot from your presentations and also expose on so many agenda items. And I believe we can walk away from this roundtable discussion, I think, with three takeaways. First takeaway is that we all agree we are now humanity is facing multiple mounting challenges. So we have to transform our thinking. We have to transform our paradigm of education. We have to transform our paradigm of civilization itself. On that, we all also agree that we have to be pessimistic in our brain, but we have to be optimistic in our heart. That's the first takeaway I hope we all share. The second takeaway is that we all agree that we are in this fight, not bad war, good fight, together. Unless we all work together, governments, businesses, academia, civil society, unless all of us work together, we cannot win this good fight. So that should be the second takeaway. And last takeaway, I also want to borrow the wisdom from South Africa. That one of the South African maxims said, if we want to go fast, go alone, but if we want to go far, we have to go together. So we have to go together in this fight, because this fight will be long and arduous. And with that, thank you so much for your contributions, and thank you to the audience.
Thank you to you all.
예, 정말 감사합니다.